I've got 6 weeks until my tenancy is up in Manchester, and I've lived here for almost 6 months. When I was moving to Manchester, I had so many goals in mind, so I actually need to hold myself accountable and really make the most of these last 6 weeks. For context, I am an appointment setter and I coach girls into remote work. I've been doing appointment setting for about 3 years now, which means it's 3 years to the month that I left my 9 to 5 to work remote full time. Since then, I've spent 2 years on and off in Bali. I've done 2 Euro summers, and in September last year, I knew that I wanted to base myself in the UK. I was always going back and forth from Bali because of friends and family, and it just made the most sense to actually start building a life here. I'm 28 now. I was 27 at the time, but I know that in Bali, I love it so much. I've honestly made the most incredible friends there, but at the same time, I know that this is where I want to live forever, and I think I do really thrive off of a bit of stability, or so I thought. Recently, everyone's been asking, what am I going to be doing after these 6 weeks? And I've got a bit of a plan for a summer. I'm going to move back to my parents and enjoy Euro summer again. I mean, God knows, like, at some point I might finally get a boyfriend and it'll be a bit awkward to go away for the whole of summer in Europe, but for the meantime, I'm going to make the most of it. And I'm really fortunate that I'm hoping I can keep all of the stuff from the flat in my parents' garage. I've still got a room there, so all good. In August, I want to hopefully get a sublet or something in London, and then I've kind of got myself in a bit of a conundrum, because initially I was moving to Manchester with one of my best friends from Bali, and the reasons for that are we know it's more affordable. She's actually northern, so it made quite a lot of sense for her to try Manchester, as she's never lived here before. I've lived in Manchester for uni and also for a year after, years ago, and knew that I loved it. Something that I am hesitant about in London is, I'm from Bromley, so it's like southeast London, Kent, and I've got an amazing friendship group there, so I'm always going for coffees. A couple of my friends, they have babies, so during the week I'm actually able to see them. Then in London, all of my friends are spread out. I'm so jealous of all of the friendship groups where they have like people on their doorstep in London, but for me that's not the case. I know that I'd probably, well, hopefully get a bit of a social circle if I ever decided to move into Central, but at the same time I feel like I'll just be ping-ponging around London like I do anyway whenever I'm staying in Bromley, so I was a bit hesitant about that. And it has honestly been incredible being in Manchester and connecting with old friends, making new friends, and also being able to spend the time with my family up here, including my grandparents. So I'm in a conundrum because I love it up here so much, which is why I don't want to move back down south and commit to it renting in London without testing it out first. So I'm thinking in August, I'm sure there will be hopefully someone that wants to go away for a month and I can be like, oh, I'll take your room. I'm really reflecting on the past, let's say 6 months in Manchester. I'm on a 7-month lease which ends end of May, and it's currently the middle of April. And when I moved here, I actually got a new journal, and one of the things that I did in the start was write down my goals, and I am a long way off them. They're not to be done by the end of Manchester, but it's all stuff that I was so certain I was going to be tunnel vision and working towards, and there's many reasons that I haven't been able to do that, or I haven't done it, not being able to, because I think if I had the right mindset through this whole time, then it's definitely things that I could have done for needle with, let's say. But instead, I've been reflecting on what I have done, and then also where I want to be in the next 6 weeks. So instead of doing that, like, oh, I'm moving to Manchester, what should I do? It's more, I'm moving out of Manchester in 6 weeks, so this is what I want to be getting done. So I've just been reflecting on what I have done since I've moved to Manchester, and that is spend a lot of time with friends and family. I am so lucky where, especially during the week, I really make the most of seeing people. So when people are working in town and they're on their lunch break, I can go and visit them. I've got some friends that have recently moved here who I've been able to spend a lot of time with, and obviously the friends that I had at uni, family. It's been the works. So like the other day I literally went out of town on Wednesday, had lunch with my grandparents, worked between then at theirs, then worked at my cousin's, met their new puppy and spent the evening there, and that's stuff that I wouldn't necessarily be able to do if I was based in London, and I definitely wouldn't be able to do if I was still in Bali. So really enjoying that time. I've literally fallen back in love with the city. I just love the fact that I live near Northern Quarter. There's so many independent coffee shops, cafes. People are always out and about working. I think it's such a creative city. Everything's on your doorstep. I love the fact that I don't even have to get in a taxi if I don't want to. I can walk everywhere. Especially now that it's a bit sunnier. I love going outside. The sun's actually just come back out now, which is amazing. So fallen back in love with the city. Wasn't expecting it, because now it's very much like I can't really imagine living anywhere else. So it's just about making sure that I'm set up to potentially and hopefully move back here towards the end of summer. I've been able to work with a couple of the girls in my community that I've actually coached into appointment setting, which has been honestly incredible. It's been so nice having that routine, and almost similar to Bali, where I can say, okay, where should we work from today? What time do you want to go out and work? Like, it's just such a natural thing for me to do now that I really never miss the office, because I just create my own. And it's been just really nice to connect with them in person. I've taken back on a client for appointment setting since moving here. I really went tunnel vision on building my community last summer, and then I noticed that I missed the stability of a client. I'd gone through an ADHD diagnosis and actually got a medication, and I know that I perform better when people are relying on me. So I think where I was holding myself accountable when it came to growing the community, it was something to give me a bit of stability, and I've actually been able to help that client scale their offer from just a coaching offer to actually launching another business whilst I've been working with them, which has been really valuable, because it's given a whole new insight into how appointment setting can benefit an online business, and that is something that I'm so confident in. I know for sure that it's something that AI cannot replace, unlike the rumours that you hear going around. Mark my words, there is nothing like human connection. I've grown Remote with Rach. I've had a few more girls join the community, mostly through word of mouth, which is something that I'm really proud of. I've been getting into the habit of doing Pilates more regularly with friends, which has been amazing. I definitely fell off that when I moved back from Bali, because it's just so nice going to Pilates in Bali. I've attended 2 different run clubs whilst I've been here, and I've increased the cadence of my own community calls from, it was bi-weekly to 1 a week, which has been really great, because I definitely notice that the same people are showing up all the time. And something that I've really been focusing on with the community is mindset and having that vision, and I think that's something that I've gained more clarity on being in the UK, because you just notice how important these things are, rather than living in like this dopamine filled world in Bali. It's very much like holding yourself accountable, having the right mindset, stretching towards your goals, which is why it's important that I revisit this now. I've rejoined the Free Thinkers Club community. So I was part of this mentorship last summer, and that's when I noticed like the biggest period of growth for my own business and community. And I decided to take a bit of a break after the initial 6-month period that I'd signed up, and in February I noticed like I'd become a bit stagnant. I wasn't as motivated to post content, to build a personal brand, to actually attract people into the community, and it's something that I really value. It's about 4 community calls a week, and I love just connecting with other online business owners. Especially being in the UK now, it isn't like being in Bali and working from a cafe and bumping into people that are in a similar situation to you, like another online coach, another appointment setter. It's very much in Manchester. You might be working for someone who works for a business, but they might just be working remote, and it just shows me like the value in being part of a community, and it's something that I really do strive to bring to my own every week. I have obviously been pushing through the ADHD diagnosis, which I've struggled with more than I thought I would, but I've gained a real clarity in the positives and negatives that come with it for me. So I am a work in progress. I noticed that I really struggle with stopping doom scrolling, so I have a limit on my phone now, and I actually really avoid Instagram as much as possible. Some weeks I'm really good, some weeks I'm really bad. It's never like just a one day I'm doom scrolling and that's me done. It's like I'm either in the habit of doom scrolling every single day or I don't do it at all. So at the moment I'm really striving to do none at all. And also I've noticed that I get so many random ideas into my head, and my notes app is now full of them. I have a nighttime notes. I also just asked Siri to put it in my reminders, which has been game changing. But anyway, moving back to the goals that I had when I moved here, I definitely wanted to focus on, when I summarise them, it's 3 C's. So I wanted to be calmer. I knew at the time that I moved here I was struggling with my mental health, and I think that being in one place has been incredible for me. I thought that I would be making the most of Europe, doing city breaks, but ultimately I've literally just not been asked about getting on a flight. I've been so happy in the flat. I've been so happy with the routine. I've even struggled going down to like see family in London because I just know that I'm so set up here. I'm so happy just having a bit of my own space. My flatmate that I moved in with, she's actually gone back to Bali, and I always thought that I'd struggle with living alone, but I've really thrived, and it shows me like how much I need to safeguard my time and actually have time for myself to focus on what I want, or just to relax and rejuvenate. But that's been game changing. It's actually knowing that I can live alone and I don't go crazy. It's actually probably quite good for me. Consistency I've really struggled with. When I moved, tried to come off the back of doing YouTube every single day for about 30 days, and that was just me yapping, getting familiar with it. But again, due to like mental health, lots of different things, lots of things in my mind when I moved here, I fell off with that. And then even coming out of the Free Thinkers community, I think not having that accountability of someone being like, okay, so how are you performing, what are you doing, and actually going to the community calls now and saying my bottlenecks, and then knowing that there's stuff that I need to be doing is a real driving force behind me picking this back up now, and it's something that I know that I really benefit from. So that's consistency. And the next one being community. Obviously at the time of moving here, I'd come out of the Free Thinkers community, but also I was just in the same cycle with my own community, where I have such a great relationship with all of the girls that have joined my coaching, that a lot of the time I'd be reaching out to them independently, having one-to-ones, just catching up and keeping communication going through that way, and then doing bi-weekly calls. But it's honestly been so nice to watch the connections form between the girls in my community since increasing the cadence of those weekly calls, and actually having that internal dialogue between the girls when they can connect, which has been really lovely. So those are 3 things that I really wanted to focus on when moving here, and they're definitely 3 things that my focus has been tunnel vision on, I'd say, over the last 3-4 weeks. But like I say, I've got 6 weeks left, and there's a lot that I want to make happen. So having gone through my journal, having gone through what I've done within the last 6 months, I'm actually going to spend this time thinking about exactly what I want to be doing over the next 6 weeks, what I want to achieve. And when I look at the 3 C's, that I want to leave here and just think, okay, I've done everything. And where my conundrum is I want to look back and reflect at this time in Manchester and think, okay, I could live here and it is a great place for me to grow my online business. Because where I set out to achieve more than I have, I don't want to leave with that in my mind, because I do love Manchester. And something that I think's held me back is when I'm posting content, and the sort of content that I want to be that attracts the client that I work with is freedom. So when you think of freedom, it does hook people in. The fact that I've got loads of videos of me working poolside from Bali, and it's not the same taking content in like Manchester when it's pissing it down and being like, look at me, I can work for myself and I can work from cafes wherever I want. Even though that is the freedom that I've chosen now, it's definitely easier to get the content that you know is going to hook people in. You just feel a lot fresher as well. Like here I love the fact that I can go out in trackies, big jumper, big coats, cap, but it's just not the same. It doesn't hit the same as someone saying learn appointment setting and experience this level of freedom when you're like traveling everywhere. But it's something that I just know I really thrive from, and that's something where I want to prove to myself I can do that content, I can grow my community or my audience through the same message, even though I'm in Manchester now and I'm not in Bali. And I think that's a bit of a limiting belief that I've had, well, I know I've had, and people have told me that I've had since moving here, and probably one of the reasons why I've slowed down with growing my personal brand and being consistent with content. So let's do the first one, as consistency. And one thing that I'm doing at the moment is unhinged reasons that I left my 9 to 5, because I went into my notes app and I have an angry and a happy list, and my angry list is full of things that I put into almost like let's call it the equivalent of a box, but it's just my notes app, and once something's frustrated me I put it in there and then I leave it. And the amount of things that I have in from when I was in my 9 to 5, I've decided just to do a series of it. So that's series 1, which I'm doing weekly just on my short form like Instagram reels and on TikTok, so enjoying that at the moment. But then I just feel like it's a bit moany to think, okay, well, these are all the negatives. Like some positives are I've got a happy list as well, and a lot of the happy list comes from post 9 to 5, so I've also got those in this series. But it's just about, for me, I know that I'd be more consistent if there was a way that I knew I could show my audience like this is why I'm doing this. And that's why I really just want to prove over the next 6 weeks I'm going to make the most of remote life in Manchester and actually show that online, because it's something where I've held back on. Either I do things and I don't record and I don't show this is why this is like the remote life in Manchester or in a city in the UK. So that's a way that I'm hoping I can be a bit more consistent with this. So remote working in Manchester is how I can be consistent. And then also my once a week community calls. I also feel like the community check-ins I really enjoy, and it helps me to remain consistent with myself, because then I ask the girls like, okay, have you done that thing that we spoke about? And then it's like, wait, why am I asking them to do that? But just basically making sure I'm as consistent with inputs so that I can drive big outputs. And that way I can leave Manchester, I can feel like I've really accomplished what I set out to do here. And I think that's all about being consistent with content, being consistent with messaging people and actually building that connection online, being consistent with actually just getting on calls and being really transparent with girls about my remote working journey, how I can support them into remote work. So basically just building as much connection as possible, which takes me on to connection and community, and that is obviously going to be online, just making sure that I am reaching out to girls that are interested in remote work. So that's just outreach. But then again, I've got 6 weeks left in Manchester. I really want to be making the most of it. So at the moment I've gone to 2 different run clubs. I'm going to try a 3rd one this week, mark my words. So that's run club. I'm gonna actually put myself out there, and when I go to work in a cafe, I'm gonna speak to people more, because I do sometimes, but I think it's something that I can work on. So speak to people in cafes, try different cafes as well. I always go to the same ones. I do boycott a lot, because if I get like a coffee and it's not my favourite coffee, I just don't like going back. So let's say try new cafes. And then I actually am going to put myself out there and say that I want to go to, so I've got 6 weeks left, so let's say 3 IRL events, in real life events. I've gone to 1 since being here, and it's so different from Bali. So it was a third place event. So it was a community of girls, and it was all about how to build your personal brand online, which is obviously something that I'm working towards. And it was amazing, but it's so different to Bali, because obviously in Bali everyone's sort of set up, they know the opportunity in online business, whereas for this in real life event, it was people that are almost like just dipping their toe in, seeing if it's something that might work for them. And when I'd say, okay, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm working towards, this is what I've done over the last 3 years, it was like people found it a bit mind-boggling that I'd lived in Bali and been able to do this. So I think being part of these in real life events and actually connecting with people in Manchester and in the UK is really important, because it's a way of me hopefully growing my community where I can let people know, like, yeah, it is possible. Learn appointment setting and you can do it. So let's say 3 in real life events. Maybe I should put to go to 1 solo, but I did go to that 1 solo and I think it's quite nice going with friends. No, I'll leave it. 3 in real life events. Okay, so that's connection and community. That was the last one, calm. So I know that when I moved here, I just watched this journaling prompt. I always put it in the description of my YouTubes whenever I mention it, because I think it's so fab. And it's basically you write down your goals. It's in this journal. You write down your goals, you write down your reminders and affirmations, you do a bit of visualization for where you want to be. So my one was in, I think I did it in like 3 years time, this is where I want to be. And then it's prompts, so at the end of every entry, you want to be free flow writing for about a page. And at the end of every entry, you want to be thinking, you want to be taking it back to your goals. So some of the prompts that I have are, what would the version of me who already has all this do today? So that's looking at the visualization. One decision I've been avoiding that would shift my energy. So it's all about just regaining that clarity and aligning with that vision, aligning with your goals, aligning with the reminders and affirmations of like who you are, where you want to be. And I actually want to get another journal for these 6 weeks. Oh no, I don't need to. I'm going to actually just write down. I'm going to redo my goals, my reminders and affirmations, and my visualization and my prompts to start afresh, because I fell off it so badly and I'm really disappointed in myself, because I thought, okay, I'm going to do this for 3 months every single day, and I just haven't. So that's something that I'm going to make a habit again. And I think to do that, I just need to realign with where I want to be just at the end of May. Like, what am I going to leave and do? Oh my gosh, it's so stressful. But hopefully by doing this every day and having that alignment of like where I'm going to be and what I'm working towards, it will really help, because when people say to me, what's next? I'll be like, well, hopefully, all things going well, I'll be doing this. So 6 weeks consistent. That I'm going to do the initial prep for that today, and then start 6 weeks consistent tomorrow. Let me put some exclamation marks there, because that's like my must. Then I want to be doing Pilates. When I moved into this flat, there's like a studio, it's unreal. And I love doing Pilates at home. I do the Pilates class, which is so good if anyone's ever tried it. She's really great. But there's a difference between doing it at home and you're just watching it on the TV, you've not got any mirrors or anything, and doing it in the studio downstairs. So when we moved in, I was doing it all the time. I was getting into a really good habit of just doing it every morning, and I fell off that. But this last week I've started their challenge. So I'm going to say to myself, for the next 6 weeks, I'm going to do Pilates at least 3 times in that studio. We also have a gym downstairs, which I need to make the most of, because when I move back in summer with my parents, and also when I'm travelling Europe, I'm not going to have that. And as much as I want to be getting my steps done outside, like 10,000 steps, amazing, I do try and do that most days. then I can't work and do steps. So where I'm working for my client at the moment, I'm actually able to work from my phone conducting outreach a lot. So I think I should say on here that I'm going to do 3 times a week working from trading, because I find that I'm so productive there. I just put down my personal phone, I'm on my work phone, and I can literally smash out an hour and I just feel so much better afterwards. So that's fitness thingy. I'm gonna say that I'm gonna do, let's push myself out there. I've got 6 weeks left, so let's do 1 run club per week. And by run club, it can be obviously one of the ones that they put on, but I think in Manchester it's quite hard because I did one this morning and you're all running together, people go at a certain pace, everyone's quite fast here, and also when there's like 10-15 of you, it can get quite crazy on the pavements. So I'm either going to go with the run club, or I'm going to create my own run club with like me and a couple of friends, but just make sure that I'm doing at least 1 run a week with other people. So I'm going to say can be with friends. What else can I do to become? I think that's probably it. Let's say AM journal, because I think that makes a difference to me being consistent with it. Right, so the reason I've basically done this video is to talk you through some of my stress at the minute. I am so stressed about what I'm doing with my life, what I'm doing next. I know exactly where I want to be business-wise. It's just about me having the right environment to get there, and I think where I've not met the goals that I had when moving to Manchester, I really need to just make this the biggest 6 months ever, because I do love it here. I do want a reason to move back, and at the moment I'm like, okay, but does it make more sense for me to be somewhere like Cape Town, to be somewhere hot, to be somewhere where I am motivated to get outside and like make content and be a bit like, oh, look at my life, because I do appointment setting, but can I do that here? This is the mission over the next 6 weeks. So let me show you through. Oh, I just really hope this works. I really hope I'm consistent with it. So I'm actually going to be consistently posting. That's what I need to put. So where I've got remote working in Manchester and I've got my unhinged, but I'm going to post at least 1 short form every day to get eyeballs on my page, you know, and then I'm going to do an update for remote working in Manchester once a week to do a bit of a check-in. Where am I with these goals? Oh my god, I really hope I do it. So wish me luck, and please subscribe if you want to follow along the journey. But if you are thinking about remote work, it's the best thing that I've ever done. Like, I don't want this to seem like a moan at all. It's more the goals when it comes to growing my own online business, and I just love working remotely in the UK. It's just about the best way of showcasing that. I love when people are like talking to me about going into the office and I'm like, yeah, can't relate, couldn't be me, and probably will never be me again. The more girls that I can help out of it, the better. And honestly, I've never felt more confident in the performance of the appointment setters that I train and the impact that we can support online businesses in scaling with. So if you are an online business owner as well, feel free to message me and we can get you set up with an appointment setter. And also, obviously, if you want to step into remote work, then drop me a follow, drop me a message, and really looking forward to catching up. So I will see you